Welcome to the Roaming Yeti podcast, where we share stories and tips to inspire you to roam your neighborhood and the world. I'm your host and head Yeti, Beth Scalacci. In today's episode, I'm going in a little bit of a different direction. I'm calling this the Roaming Yeti Tries Something New. I spoke with Charlotte Lehigh and Josh Taylor this week about hosting a murder mystery party. This interview was so much fun and I laughed so much. We did have a minor technical hiccup, so please excuse my editing if you catch it. But let me tell you a little bit about Josh and Charlotte. Together, they plot unique crimes for mystery parties, and they also co-host the amazing Agatha Christie podcast, Don't Drink the Tea. When they're not doing that, Josh is usually found reading crime fiction, and Charlotte is an Anglophile, mystery novel connoisseur, and bat enthusiast. The creature, not the sports equipment. Are you ready? Let's roam. Welcome back, everyone, to the Roaming Yeti podcast. I'm switching things up today, and I'm really excited that Josh and Charlotte from an amazing podcast. So when you're done listening to this one, go check out theirs. Don't Drink the Tea. But I'm trying this new thing of Roaming Yeti Tries Something New. And so today we are talking, I'm going to call them professional murder mystery party throwers. We're going to talk about murder mystery parties because this is something that I have not attended, I have not thrown, but I feel like it's time. So I'm going to the experts. I'm not messing around here. So Charlotte and Josh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having us. And I think it's probably the first time we've ever been called professionals. So thank you for that too.
Fair enough. So when did either one of you participate, not necessarily throw, but just participated in your first murder mystery party?
Yeah, so I vaguely remember attending one at like a resort that was like it was their Wednesday night event. You know, they did it every week, and it was a dinner theater type thing, and they had actors, I think, from a local theater or a local school, something like that. Um, and no judgment on them, judgment on myself. I feel like I was a little nitpicky about it, but I did enjoy it. And I think that what I got the most from it was that, oh, okay, I think this would be really fun to do. But yeah, they did a fine job. I was just being judgy.
And how
Yeah,
about
and
you,
I
Josh?
I was still like a kid when I heard about their existence, and the adults were all doing them and I wanted to get invited and I wasn't.
Oh man.
So I planned one in retaliation, and I had one with all my kid friends, and it was horrible because, none of them took murder quite as seriously as I did. But then years later, when I was a little older, then my real first one was my own that I threw with Charlotte. So my first few were all my own. I hadn't actually been invited to an awful lot that weren't my own creation.
And that was when your Stanley Kubrick complex started to manifest itself.
Yes, I had to control everything.
This is not going the way we planned.
So what is it about these parties that you love so much?
I love either being presented with a puzzle or presenting a puzzle to someone. And it's like kind of how I feel like a murder mystery novelist must feel like, and that's what we talk about all the time on Don't Drink the Tea, that with Agatha Christie's books, how they must feel to create something like that, but then have people try to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of get the satisfaction either way. Like if they do figure it out, that somebody like can see the breadcrumbs that you laid, but also if they're surprised, you get the satisfaction that you surprise them. And it's great to see people at the party like team together to do that and see them collaborate to try to get to the truth. I love that. And it's the same feeling I get even just like reading a mystery book. And so it's like doing that, but it's actually around you in 3D.
Yeah, I agree. It's something very satisfying about puzzles. And I think all of us human beings, we seek out things that we want to solve or decipher. It's good for us. It's good for our brain. It's good for our thinking patterns. And especially to think in a different way, lateral thinking. And I think that's one of the things that it helps you to do. And it's just if if you're one of those people like myself that when you go to a party, you're not really sure what you're supposed to do. That's how I feel at most like gatherings where it's like just show up and have fun. That's very intimidating for me. So having like a focus and okay, so I'm here to do this is it makes it a little bit easier to socialize.
So is it more fun to host or attend?
Yeah, so that definitely I think that's a personality thing as well. Like not too terribly long ago, but probably longer ago than I think. We got to attend like a library fundraiser that was Clue themed, and they did an excellent job with it. It's a local library, and they hold an event every year. They do a really, really good job. But again, I think my brain was always like, okay, so how did they do this, or how would we have done it if we were doing it? And so when you're doing that, it's hard to turn it off and just enjoy it. It's more of like thinking of it as how can we recreate this, or how can we be inspired by this? But I know that there are many people, and we're so grateful to know so many who are so eager to be our audience for us, that it's really nice that he's like, okay, I want to just immerse myself in solving
Mhm.
this.
Yeah, like God said, my like I'm a control freak. So like when if I'm ever at one, I'm always thinking, well, I would have done this or I would have done that. So I guess I have fun attending them, but I just love hosting them because I love coming up with the mystery. Like we've never of all the ones we've done, which I think I counted at least 7 or 8 that we've hosted solely us now. And with all those, we've never done a repeat. We always create it from scratch each time. And that always just gets me so excited. So I feel like if I was ever at somebody else's, I would be jealous that I didn't get to come up with a mystery. So that's why we like to do it, collaborate with other people to do it. I'm always trying to put it out there and be like, don't you want to host one? And don't you want me to help?
Exactly. So do you prefer that someone, do you want them to be solved, or is there a part of you that hopes they can't solve it?
Yeah, that's a real fine line. It's like I always say I want one person to solve it so nobody goes away being like, well, that was impossible. But I much more appreciate people being surprised because that's how I want to be. I want to be surprised when I don't really want to figure it out, but I always try to figure it out. But you
Right.
have to have someone solve it so nobody says you made that impossible.
And never want to do it again.
Yes.
Yeah, and another thing that's really fun, and I'm sure that we'll talk about this later as it comes up, but one time I think one year we gave a prize for best alternate solution. Some guests had come up with a completely different solution that actually fit all of the facts that we had given them. And we were like, oh, wow, that would have been a really good idea. Let's give them a prize.
That's that would be me. Like I'd plan it and there'd be like three other ways to solve it that I didn't think of. And I'm like, oh,
That just makes it more fun.
there you go.
Just act like you knew it. Be like, oh
That's
yeah, I
right.
thought of that.
Great. I just let everyone, if I'm inviting you and you're listening, you didn't hear that part.
Catch it in post.
Exactly. Um, so you said you've done like seven or eight parties, and so you've never, I guess that leads to the next question. You've never repeated and you do your own, like, do you have to write your own story? Like how do you even start? Like it just seems so overwhelming to me. if you're going to host one, just sort of what's that high level? I don't want you giving away the secret sauce, but how do you get started with hosting one?
Yeah, that is a good question. And we get that a lot also we also work on designing escape rooms as well. And it's a lot of people ask the same question, like, where do you get all the ideas? And when you get started going on that track, what's harder than coming up with new ideas is stopping yourself, like stopping the flow of ideas. Once the dam breaks, you kind of just have all these different, okay, I want to do all of this now. And so that's why we have to keep having new ones, because as soon as one's finished, we're like, wouldn't it be fun if next year we did this? But I wanted to speak to your episode called Yeti's Day Off, where you were talking about what to do if you had 4 hours in your hometown. And you said you love a good theme.
Yep.
And that is exactly the way I feel. So yeah, that's a really good place to start. If you know, like, okay, I want this to feel like a Great Gatsby 1920s kind of thing, then you've got your starting point. You know, good old Google, just look for images and you've got an idea of, okay, I like the look of this, or I like the feel of this time period. And so that gives you a direction to go in. And then after that, I think the most important thing is just having good people to bounce your ideas off of, and people that are going to be okay with saying, okay, what about this? What about that? And just building on the ideas that you start with. It'll go in directions that you never expected. And yeah, lastly, being practical. It's also a good idea to have a little bit of a budget, because
Okay.
sometimes we do and sometimes we don't for our parties, and that can get you in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. And it also depends on how you want to go about it, because there are like plenty of companies that they like sell the kits. So they'll come with like suspect cards and they'll give you a plot. And that's what we've always done. We've modeled it after that. We just were never content with anything that we could buy. Like we had to come up with it from
Right.
scratch. And yeah, that's how we always started. This one is spy themed. This one's Sherlock Holmes, and then it all comes from there. But if you don't feel like you're good at coming up with that, that's why we always have a great team, like Charlotte is and Barbara, who also helps us out,
Mhm.
have always been really good with the clues and the decorations. And that's super important, because you can come up with this really awesome solution, but how are people going to guess it
Gotcha.
and have the satisfaction of winning all these solving all these little puzzles? And so it's always worked for us to have like a little team that are working on it if you do it from scratch, because it's also cool that you can customize it knowing who your audience is. And we haven't mentioned this, but there are multiple ways to do a party, and we've done both. Some people, they'll have like a group of just a little group of people, everybody's a suspect, everybody's acting, and they're all trying to figure it out. But the way that we found that we like it is to have two groups of people, and one group are characters
Okay.
and another group are observers or detectives. And so we have a small cast playing out the characters and the mystery, and they don't even have to know who did it or anything, but they are just serving as, so you can visualize what's happening. And everyone else, they don't have to act, but they come with like a notebook, they ask questions, they look for clues. We didn't start off that way, but that's how we've got to,
Okay.
and that can require more work, but we've always found that that's satisfying for people even that don't necessarily, they want to come but they don't want to have to perform.
Right.
And so it depends on which way you want to go about it. Those kits are usually designed for just like a group of like 6 to 10 people who are all
Okay.
playing. But yeah, we've always done a little bit bigger scope.
Right. Yeah, and that was one of the things like is if you have people who don't want to like how you enlist people to attend, but it sounds like if you have a group that may not want to act or get into it, that it's better to bring a group in to do that and let everyone else be the detective. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I mean, we've switched it out every time so that different people were actors whenever we were doing it with just our friend group rather than just like public people that are attending.
Hmm.
But yeah, some people they just want to come and be themselves and figure it out. Or if you have somebody that really doesn't want to act too hard, they could just be a dead body and just lay on the floor the whole party.
No acting skills required.
Exactly.
Close your eyes.
Yeah, everybody's different. And if you are hosting one like for fun, and you have a guest list of like, okay, I think these people are going to be really game, like they're going to really enjoy it. Then you've got, some place to start that you can feel like, okay, I'll reach out to this person and be like, would you be okay with having one secret, like one little piece of information that only you have and the other people have to, um, try to find it out from you? Or if you know that people are going to be a little bit intimidated and they just want to kind of observe, then yeah, you can take some pressure off of them by just saying, just mingle, get to know people.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. We have where I live, we're on a court and we've known each other for 20 some years and I was like, it might actually be the perfect group of people for one of these. Um,
Awesome.
so we were thinking about that and I'm like, you know, do we enlist then? So some of the kids are high schoolers and they're in theater and stuff. So I'm like, do I enlist them to do some of the acting for us or um so
That's a really nice idea. I'm sure that they would appreciate that. If they're already interested, they'll probably, be, like Josh was, like, nobody's invited me to one, so I'm just going to do my own.
yeah, it's interesting because I didn't really understand how the dynamic worked. Again, I've never been to one. I see businesses and stuff have them, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go where I don't know people. Like, I am not. I will classify myself as a social introvert. I like being around people, especially people I know. But then I need to go recharge. Like,
Right.
I need to relax. So, but the idea of doing that with people I have no idea who they are, I've never met, is like, no, that's not happening.
Right.
So, so the idea of sort of having a group, but then bringing some people in to help, is really interesting, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure, because you don't, there's no expectation. There's not like, okay, I have to do this right. Like, there's not a hard and fast rule of a way you have to do it. Or like you said, businesses do it and, they're expecting to make a profit out of it or something like that. But if you're wanting to do it socially and you know the people that you're inviting, you can feel pretty confident and like, well, whatever happens, at least we're going to have a good time.
right.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're with your friends, it can be as silly as you want it to because we are pretty silly with ours. Nothing is too serious or scary. There's a lot of jokes, and so that's a lot safer because you don't know how somebody will react if they're a stranger or if they paid for a ticket and they're like, "What
Right.
is this?"
That's for sure. Um, so you said there are kits and obviously kind of hire people like yourselves to sort of write out and do these things. Are there any other resources like if you wanted to write your own that sort of gives you things to just remember to include or I feel like you guys need to write like a book or something is what I think I'm getting at.
Yeah,
I
get on that, Josh. Get started with
Yeah.
that, please.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can always reach out to us. We're a pretty good resource, but yeah, there are kits that they can go as detailed, and there are other companies. Not that I want to advertise for them
No,
that provide
no, we're not
things for
advertising
us.
for them.
Yeah, and you can always Google how to throw a mystery party, and even for us, a lot of what we have just done is read a lot of mystery, and
Mhm.
it gives you because they all kind of especially when you're reading about people gathered into a house and the lights go off or something like that, it gives you a ton of ideas and gives you the structure that it kind of can just write itself in your head because you can be as cliche as you want to be.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And my advice is to start with something that you really want. or
Okay.
that you really love. So like one year it was just like it was a character. It was this character that Josh had created, and it was like, okay, we have to build an entire party, an entire scenario just around this character. And that was our starting point. We knew that Habeas Dweezil was his name, by the way. We knew that Habeas Dweezil had to be the central part of this mystery. And then, you can branch out from that. And if something's just not working, like if you feel like you're just trying to shoehorn something in that just doesn't fit, even if you love it, sometimes it has to be pushed to the side if everything else is clicking. But in general, and Josh, you can say how you feel about this as well. Like it's to have fun. It's for you to have fun. It's for your guests to have a good time. So yeah, make sure that you've got, that you're invested in it in that way. Like, okay, I really want to solve this little puzzle. Like I want it to be a locked mystery, or I really want to serve this new recipe that I've done a canapé and I want everyone to try it. It's something as simple as that.
Right. And you said to have it helps to have a budget. Like what things to consider for that budget?
Well, I think for us, we since we have always handcrafted ours, like there
Right.
is a lot of handheld material that just needs like printed, whether that's at home or professionally. So that could be like clues, or we always try to make sure people have notebooks, or just even like photographs for reference. And that we are always printing so much, we always run out of ink whenever we have a party on whoever's printer that we decide to use. And
We take
so
turns. We take
yeah,
turns.
just something like that. And then like if you are serving food, thinking about how much, if it's enough. And then if you're having a theme, like Charlotte said, like if you're doing 1920s, then you'll want a lot of things that look like that, whether it's just stuff from Party City, or if you go thrift shopping or whatever that is. So
Or if
uh,
you're like stealing things out of your own home,
Right.
be like, this will work.
and you don't have to spend hardly anything to do it. I mean, you
Yeah.
can use your imagination, or you could say, this mystery is set in 2023 in my apartment, and it probably will still be just as fun. But if you want to
Right.
have those immersive elements, just like a a vague budget. I don't know that we ever stick that closely to it.
No, and again, yeah, and you're right. I think the biggest expense is usually food. It's whether you decide that you want to feed these people, or or if you think that's the only way that they'll stay is if they're getting food.
We don't always feed them.
Oh.
No, but usually that's definitely a Barbara thing. She's like, okay, I'm doing the decorating, I'm doing the food. What kind of food do we need?
It does help. Yeah, it keeps the spirits up.
No, and
Yeah.
that's one of my questions. Like, if you're doing food, do you feed them before? Do you feed them as a reward? They're sort of finger foods during.
Yeah, we've always done during, and I think that works like especially if you're having like a dinner theme, like
Okay.
people are gathering for dinner, but also finger foods too are great because it gives you something to do, and again, nobody's going to get too grumpy because they're all eating and staying hydrated.
Got to watch out for people getting hangry.
Yeah.
Yes, especially
No,
whenever
no
there's
low blood
reference.
sugar.
Yeah, and it kind of just like pads everything out, and it's also good theming too because we've incorporated that into a lot of our mysteries too. Like one we had that was like diner themed, and
Oh,
so we
nice.
could like oh what food would be served at a diner, or we had like they were at the setting was a Chinese restaurant, so Chinese food or a French restaurant, and I think that like extends the theme into a way that people will always be thrilled with because they can eat it.
Right. People love decorations. See if they can eat their decorations, they're set.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
win-win.
Yeah, and a nice thing about if you the sweet spot that we've kind of found in the past few that we've done is like it'll be the first half, let's say, of the event is like introducing the characters, giving your guests the resources that they need to solve it, telling them what they need to do, who they need to talk to, and then letting them mill around and let everybody be in character for a bit. And then having, and maybe there's, some snacks at that time. And then when it's time for like everybody gets a chance to eat, then it also gives the people who are playing a character a chance to take a little bit of a break. I mean, I exclude myself in that because I'm never in character. I am the worst ever, because I'm always just so obsessed with watching everyone else. And we have had some wonderful, wonderful people that just had these amazing hidden talents that we didn't know about. Like just our friends would be like, hey, do you like, our 22-year-old friend, it's like, do you mind playing like a crazy 90-year-old? And she was like on it. And she shows up in full costume. Someone had done her makeup and she was amazing and never broke character the whole night. And I'm just like laughing my head off and having a great time. But yeah, for the professional people, it gives them a chance to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah. Except for does the dead person get to eat?
Depends on if they're there. The way that we've always solved that, if there is, because it's not always a body, but if it is a murder mystery, then we usually have the murder has already happened.
Okay.
So that nobody has to be a body, nobody has to sit out unless they really want to, but nobody has to sit out the party and be really, really bored.
Right.
And I think that helps because you also conserve your actors. If you can only get like 6, that you don't have to waste one on a dead person.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to waste actors on that.
Yeah.
I mean, are there any, when I say rules, I guess, are there any expectations to set with people when they attend these?
I think we have found a few like things. There's like, okay, that didn't work, or that didn't go the way that we expected, and then it's just like, well, we'll not do that the next time, or we'll do that differently. But yeah, I know, Josh, you had some thoughts on that.
Well, one thing that has worked for us that we've discovered, again, this is trial and error, is pretty much having an MC.
Okay.
And with the way we do the parties where some people are solving, some people are acting, usually the MC is like a detective role. So for the last several parties, I had a detective named Seamus O'Grady. He is Scottish, but if you want to hear me do the accent, you just have to invite me to your party.
Right.
It's not free.
You're not getting that for free.
Fair enough.
But so that character can kind of be like, here is less rules, like there's no commandments at the beginning, but guidance.
Okay.
Really, to be like, this is how it's going to be structured. These are the kind of things you're going to want to be doing. These are the things that because usually people won't be needing to be told not to like do something crazy like stand on the table or eat the clues.
Right.
But usually guidance will help because it helps them know what they're looking for, and having that character who's kind of neutral in that they're on the same level, even if they do have an insane costume or accent, helps with that, so that it doesn't feel like it's rigid, but it feels like I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And like some things that we have found just on like a purely practical level, like Josh has mentioned before, like not having something really central that happens like in the middle of the party. And I'll let you tell that story. But another thing that's also really helpful is like I think it was only the first time that we did it, right, Josh? Like we had like fixed clues. Like, okay, we hit a clue. Yeah. In a bush, like for example, because we had it like indoor, outdoor, which is nice if the logistics work out. But but then you've got these random things like someone will take the clue from said bush and then carry it around for the rest of the evening, and it's like, no, you have to share that. So in that way, like having, like Josh said earlier, if everyone needs the same clue, then have it fixed where it cannot move, or make a copy for everyone that's going to be present. The past few that we've done, we've given everyone like a little kit that might have all of the essential things. So everybody's got a copy, there's no fighting, they don't get lost, and someone can't monopolize it. So Josh, go ahead and give your other pearl of wisdom.
Yeah, it's not an industry rule, but it's always been our rule. It's no mid-party crimes. And it sounds so satisfying. You shut off the lights the lights come on and there's a dead body, but things can always go wrong. And so I was supposed to die mid-party. I was the second victim, and it was going to be awesome. I had a little bottle of red food dye in my pocket.
Oh
I was
no.
ready to go. And so we had a distraction at the party, like a clue was discovered, and everybody went around the corner. They were come back, and then I was going to be dead. So I get into position, but our group was too big, and they never fully went around the corner. So before I could even become dead, they had already turned around and they were all back. And then I was like, I can't just drop dead here. And so we were like scrambling in the corner to rewrite the solution at the end to like erase any part of my death, because it was a lot of work to just a lot harder to kill a person than you'd think. So that's what we always do. If you're investigating a crime and the crime has already happened, nothing can go wrong with that crime. Everything can be observed in pictures or in a scene of a crime. But if you shut off the lights, or if you do, some people can always unintentionally do that wrong. And that's why I'm still alive to tell the tale, which I should not be. I should have died that day.
Yeah, that I love that. Like no crimes in the middle. Good note. I feel like maybe that should be a commandment of murder mystery parties.
learn from our example.
So you talked about sort of that group was too big. Is there sort of a magic number that you find works better and I think people get more enjoyment out of?
I think it does depend on how big you want to go. How, like, because I don't know how many we had at that first one, but it was
more than we expected.
Right. And so it was a little bit harder to control. We have had some where we had like up to 70 people in attendance. And yeah, so that's a little bit of a commitment. And in that case, you also want to balance it with the amount of people who are participating or your detectives and how many people are like acting. So yeah, it just depends on, when you're writing down the list of your friends and you're like, oh, so and so would love this, so and so would love this, and then after you've had the event, it'll be interesting when they disperse and start telling other people. The people who come up to you and say, why didn't you invite me to this? That sounds so fun. And then okay, you're going on the list for the next time. And you'll find that it grows kind of exponentially if your friend group is like-minded, for sure.
Yeah, and if you're doing the parties where it's just like the cast of characters just hanging out with each other, I think like around 10 is a good number to stop, because then you're just kind of stepping over it, unless you got a really big space. But when you do have the observers, the detectives who come along who are neutral, you can have a lot more people. And what we usually do whenever it is a number that big, like 50 to 70, is make teams, which I think is a lot more fun for people too. They don't have to do it by themselves. So it could be teams of like 2 to 5, whether they know each other or not, whatever they pick. And that's a good way to divide it up if you want to have a lot of people. But if it's just like, intimate at your house, I'd say like 10, maybe no more than like 15.
Okay. That makes sense. And do you find so if someone's not attended one before, do you find them sort of apprehensive at first, or like how do you break the ice, or do people that come for yours are like they're ready, they're all in?
Yeah, there's like two groups. Some people they come there and they're like, I'm here to solve this. But sometimes it's you just don't know what it is, because it is weird. It's a weird thing to do. So I think making sure that you are really relaxed in how you like making it clear that we're not expecting that we are relaxed and silly, and no one will be feeling like they have to be put on the spot to act like they're actually in like a mystery movie, and if they get their line wrong, that they're going to get fired.
I mean, and I think the great thing is there's so many mystery movies now that are they're great because they are so over the top. So, people don't have to take it so serious, I guess.
Yeah, it should be. I think it always should be fun, and like you should make everybody laugh.
Right. Yeah. And and again, you'll find that with like the people who you invite, that you can, if you're doing your first one, like you kind of know, okay, these are the people that I'm going to feel comfortable with. They're going to be comfortable with each other, and they're kind of open to whatever happens. And then if you have a good time and you decide to do another one with more people, then you can feel a little bit more polished. But the biggest thing that I've heard from other people is they worry about what they're supposed to wear, for one thing. Like that always kind of stresses them out. And also, like, and that keeps people from doing them, I think, at like businesses and stuff, like you said, because okay, what's going to be expected of me? Like, am I going to have to not come up on stage? Am I going to have to be front and center and do something, perform in some way?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if they kind of know, no, it's okay, you're just there to kind of solve it, you can do it at your own pace. It's just to have fun and solve a puzzle, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask about costumes because my daughter was forcing me to ask about costumes because she's in college for costume design. So she's like
Ah,
she's like, of course everyone needs to wear costumes. And I'm like, I don't think they do.
and I mean, I feel like you should never require it because, like Charlotte said, you don't want anyone to not come because of it.
Right.
But like what we've again done in our way is that everybody dressed up in that circle that was performing, and then nobody else was required to. You could come, like we would say, here's the theme, so you can dress in that theme if you like. But yeah, but a lot of times, most people, they were just in casual clothes, and then you'd have the random person who decided that they wanted to just because that was fun for them. But even some of the ones we've done recently where we set it in modern day, somebody could act and just be in, jeans, but have something about them that just shows that they are a character.
Right.
But yeah, I think if you've got that skill, if you have a costume designer, you should have some really cool costumes, but don't scare anybody away.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we've done it a couple different ways, and most of our themes have been like for the air quotes the actors, like the people who are performing a character. It's mostly things that they could just pull out of their closet, and like, okay, like one time it was, all right, well, you're a corrupt banker, can you put out that vibe with your costume? Or we had one woman who was like a nurse, so she had a white dress and she made her own little hat. One time we were doing the theme was an art gallery, and it was all black and white, so all of the decorations were black and white. The lovely women that we had supporting with the food, the support staff, they had these like little serving costumes, like they had made an apron, they were in black and white, and then they made like the trays like the old movie theater girls used to have, like they would have the refreshments like on a tray and a strap, and so like they would circulate with that while the party was going on, and that was really cool. When we did the diner, the theme was like aqua blue and like a bubblegum pink, like kind of like the 50s 60s. So yeah, that it depends on what your guests are going to be up for.
Right.
But if it's not required, yeah, they can't be like, oh, sorry, I don't have a 1920s flapper dress, I can't come.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I try to explain to her. Like, not everyone has that or has the time or the skill to do that as well.
But we might be calling on her for our next one to be like, hey, can you make us legit?
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a favorite theme that you've done?
Ooh, man, that's really hard to pick. It's like it's hard to think of it because, like I said, we always do goofy, but we to take like the plot seriously. So sometimes it's like looking back, like, man, we were really clever with that one. So sometimes when it was really gelling, like I think my favorite one was the 50s diner.
Okay.
That just had like a really cool plot that was very Agatha Christie. And it also like incorporated, we would tell people information like it was an old mystery radio dramas
Oh, cool.
that we would try to make. And that was so fun. And being able to eat diner food. I think that was my personal favorite. What about you, Charlotte?
That one was really cute, and like a behind the scenes look at that one. It just so happened we had all of our participants, everyone showed up. 'Cause sometimes that happens too. Somebody can't come at the last minute and you have to like kind of scramble to get.
Hope they're not the murderer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there was some threatening, I think, sometimes of like, okay, you're gonna be here, right? If you don't show up, do you know what this means for the party? But for that one, it was a wonderful theme. The food was amazing, and the plot was very good. But at least 3 of the participants were like in severe pain. Like we had one person who had a migraine, and we had one person who had just had their wisdom teeth taken out, and somebody else had like a serious injury, and so we were all on, like we were taking our painkillers, and everyone was like, I'm here, I showed up. And it went very, very well. But yeah, that one was it made for some fun things, unexpected things. But I think as far as aesthetically, the black and white one was it was gorgeous, and that one came about completely by accident. There was a little art gallery that had popped up in our town, and we'd never been in it, right, Josh? Like we just went in and said, wouldn't this be a fun place for a mystery party? And the curators were really nice about it, and they're like, well, we only have like one date that we have open that you can do it, and it's in 5 weeks. How do you feel about that? And we usually take like at least 6 months to plan. Yeah. So we were like,
it was a rush.
We were like, okay. So we just snagged it because the venue was so perfect. It was just such a neat. It was like a 19th century house, and it had been turned into like a little art gallery. And I remember us all getting back in the car afterwards, like, what did we just do? But it turned out very well.
So it's like that's like writing a book. Like that's a 6-month process for you to get into that. So you guys get really detailed then.
Yeah, you can't I don't want us to make it sound like it's harder than it actually is. But you can do it quicker. I think yes. We just we overthink it, and that's why we always offer to help and want to help people, because we love it so much. But yeah, and also because we're crafting it all. If you're buying a kit, you could do it the next weekend.
Right.
But yeah, we like having it planned out far in advance, because then you can come, like with that art gallery one, we had custom art on every wall, these old black and white photographs, and a lot of things that come, like things you find at yard sales, or you just randomly come across, and you gather all these things that make it look like you would have thought you could come up with some of the stuff when you started. And it can be beautiful when you have that time. But, even if you have to do it, if you want to do it in a month, you don't have to go nuts. Don't make crazy people think that it's all like this.
Right. No, that's true. Yeah. It can be at any place on the scale that you want it to be. It can be simple and quickly done and still be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, kudos to how much character development and everything else that goes into it for taking that time. So I applaud it, and I love it.
Well, thank you.
This information has been so great. I'll probably go kit first because I'm a chicken, but gotta start somewhere, I guess. But I have a few little pop quiz questions that I pop in here that are totally not related to murder mystery parties, but I like to get people's input on it. Favorite road trip snack for each of you?
I think I have to go with Funyuns, because it makes it's a pain in the butt for everybody else in the car after you eat them, but I really like some Funyuns.
I was gonna guess Funyuns for you. I was waiting to see if that's what you would say.
Yeah, I'm predictable.
Yeah. That's such a good question, because what's like the one thing when you're going to be in a car for a long time, it's like, okay, I cannot live without this. And for me, it's probably something that includes both chocolate and peanut butter. That is It feels like I'm having a little bit of protein, but it's just mostly sugar.
It's mostly fair enough. Do you guys have like a bucket list or daydream trip that you would love to do?
Oh, Josh, what a nice question.
I'm just laughing because I've been pretending like if I don't do this, I'm demanding a trip and saying like I need to do it now or I'll die. But since we do the Agatha Christie podcast, they have an Agatha Christie festival in where her hometown in Torquay, so in England, and obviously I've never even been over there. I've never been to Europe, and it's every September, and that is like my dream trip, which is it's probably not all that exciting, but for super nerds like us, it is. And yeah, we really want to go one day. Probably not this year, even though I keep saying it's my last chance. But that is, it's like I'm trying to blackmail everybody into going with me. Like it's my last chance to go. But
You're trying to blackmail the universe
Right.
into
yes,
letting you go this year.
but
We
I'm
did.
fine.
I'm not sure
Yeah,
that's the way to manifest it, but well, you do you.
I'll give it a shot. I'll let you know. Hopefully, I don't manifest my own death before then.
Yeah, and for me, it's always been just the UK in general. I've got to travel a little bit in the past, not nearly as much as I would like to, but that has been the White Whale has been the place I've always wanted to go and have not yet got there. And so the need to go there grows bigger and bigger every year. So hopefully, if not before, hopefully next September reasonably maybe we would get to go to Christie Fest, but yeah, just to set foot in, on, the UK would be a huge thing for me. So
Yeah,
I look forward to that whenever it gets to happen.
I
If
love
we're
it.
still standing,
We're still-
if we're alive, we'll go.
And who or what is on your travel playlist? So if you're hitting the road, what are you listening to?
I gotta have Led Zeppelin on there. I gotta have Pink Floyd, and I gotta have Heart.
Nice.
Those three, the big three, they gotta be playing. I don't care if everybody else in the car says, "What is this old stuff?" They gotta be playing.
Yep.
Between that and the Funyuns.
Yes, insufferable.
So lately, every time I've been getting into a car, the only thing I want to listen to, and it's become kind of like I wonder if I should get help. The only thing that I've listened to lately are like swing bands from the 90s. Like, do you remember this? Maybe Josh does it, but like yeah, so like Big Bad Voodoo Daddy and
Yeah.
some of those, like Tape 5 is another one. And it just, for some reason, I just lately have been like, that is the only thing that I want to listen to. So thankfully they really, really put out a lot of songs. I mean, we've all heard the ones that were on the radio in the 90s. Like everyone's heard Zoot Suit Riot and everyone's heard King of Swing or Mambo Number 5. Like we've all heard those, but they have quite a body of work I've been discovering. So I've been
Nice.
enjoying that. And I think if I was going to go anywhere past a 5-minute drive, that's what I'm going to be listening to.
There you go. I love it. Like that's an original one. I totally endorse the old school old music too. That's a must on a car ride. So um thank you guys so much for this information and your time and your expertise. Um and I think I'm gonna try it. I'll let you know.
Please do. Please
Yes,
do. Yeah. And thank
tons.
you so much for asking us. Like it's one of those things that you're always waiting for someone to ask you. So how do you do this? Be like, oh, let me tell you. Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
I have the when I'm on a talk show playing in my head at all times, like when I'm saying on the couch to I don't know, Jimmy Fallon, whatever. So
Exactly.
I'm glad
See?
we could play it out here.
I prepped you for Fallon. It's good.
You would never go on Fallon, Josh. You would go on Jimmy Kimmel for sure.
Whatever. James.
Yeah, James, it's fine.
No, but this was great for us. Thank you so much for asking us. And I've enjoyed listening to your other episodes as well. Like I was listening to the Safari one,
Oh yeah.
and I thought, well, you start out thinking, oh, I could never do that. And then hearing someone's firsthand experience, like, well, maybe I could go on safari. They made it sound fun.
Yeah. If you can survive the plane trip.
Yeah.
That was always mine. I was like, oh, but no. But thanks, guys. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks again to Josh and Charlotte for sharing their expertise. I'll let you know how the party goes if and when I host one. Be sure to check out their podcast, Don't Drink the Tea, and reach out to them if you need help planning your own murder mystery party. And I also want to thank you all for listening. I hope these episodes inspire you to get out and roam, even in your own neighborhood. Please subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you like what we're doing here, please leave a review and a rating. Also, to help support us, please head to Yeti to shop to pick up some Roaming Yeti merch. Talk to you soon, and keep roaming.